Welcome to Psychology Truth. Have you ever experienced a moment where someone made you feel small without even trying too hard? Maybe it was the way they spoke to you, the tone they used, or how was Ali. They dismissed your presence as if it didn't matter. These moments stay with us longer than we expect. They replay in our minds, not because of what exactly happened, but because of how it made us feel. Disrespected, ignored, undervalued. And in those quiet moments afterward, we often ask ourselves a simple but powerful question. What should I have done differently? Should I have spoken up? Should I have stayed silent? Or should I have walked away without saying a word? The answer to this question is not as simple as reacting in the moment, because the way you handle disrespect is not just about that single interaction. It shapes how people will treat you for the rest of your life. This is where the ideas inspired by Machiavelli become incredibly relevant, because he understood something that many people ignore. Respect is not something you are given automatically. It is constantly tested, observed, and reinforced through your behavior. To truly understand how to respond to disrespect, you first need to understand what disrespect actually represents. It is rarely just about words or actions on the surface. More often, it is about perception. People act based on how they perceive your strength, your confidence, and your boundaries. If someone believes that you won't respond, they are more likely to push further. If someone senses hesitation or insecurity, they may unconsciously take advantage of it. This does not mean people are always intentionally trying to harm you. In many cases, they're simply reacting based on patterns they have learned over time. Some people grew up in environments where dominance was rewarded, while others learned that being passive allowed others to take control. When these different personalities interact, moments of disrespect can naturally occur. The important thing to realize is that if you do nothing to correct how people perceive you, those small moments can slowly turn into a pattern. And once a pattern is established, it becomes much harder to change. One of the most common reactions to disrespect is emotional response. It is completely natural to feel anger, frustration, or even embarrassment when someone crosses a line. These emotions are human, and they exist for a reason. However, acting on them immediately is where most people lose control of the situation. When you react emotionally, you give the other person exactly what they expect. You confirm their belief that they can influence your state of mind. In that moment, even if your words are justified, your reaction can reduce your authority. This is why emotional control is not about suppressing your feelings, but about choosing when and how to express them. When you remain calm in a situation where others expect you to react, you create a psychological shift. The other person becomes unsure. They start to question their own behavior. And in that moment of uncertainty, the balance of power begins to change. Silence plays a critical role in this process. Many people underestimate the power of silence because they associate it with weakness or fear. In reality, silence can be one of the strongest responses. When used intentionally, when someone disrespects you and you don't immediately respond, you create space. That space forces the other person to sit with their own behavior. It removes the immediate reward of reaction. However, silence should not be confused with avoidance. There is a difference between choosing not to react in the moment and allowing someone to continuously disrespect you without consequences. Silence is a tool, not a solution. It gives you time to think, to observe, and to decide on the best course of action. At some point, every situation reaches a moment where a response becomes necessary. This is where boundaries come into play. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They are about defining what you are willing to accept. The way you communicate your boundaries matters just as much as the boundaries themselves. If you express them with anger or aggression, the message can become lost. In the emotion, if you express them with hesitation or uncertainty, they may not be taken seriously. The most effective approach is calm, direct, and confident communication. A simple statement delivered with composure can carry more power than a long emotional explanation. When you speak clearly and without hesitation, you show that you respect yourself, and that self-respect becomes visible to others. However, words alone are not always enough. In some cases, people will test your boundaries even after you have clearly expressed them. This is where your actions must align with your words. If there are no consequences for disrespect, your boundaries lose their meaning. Consequences do not have to be dramatic or confrontational. In many situations, the most effective consequence is withdrawal. When you reduce your availability, your attention, or your engagement. You send a clear signal that their behavior has an impact. Attention is one of the most valuable forms of social currency. When you give it freely to people who do not respect you, you lower your own value. When you choose where to invest your attention carefully, you reinforce your worth. Over time, these small decisions shape your overall presence. Presence is not something that can be faked. It is built through consistent behavior, self-awareness, and confidence. When you walk into a room, people form impressions within seconds. They observe your posture, your tone, and your energy. These subtle signals communicate more than words ever could. If you carry yourself with uncertainty, people may unconsciously treat you with less respect. If you carry yourself with calm confidence, people are more likely to approach you with consideration. Building this kind of presence takes time, but it begins with how you treat yourself. Self-respect is the foundation of external respect. If you tolerate behavior that goes against your values, you send a message not only to others but also to yourself. Another important aspect of handling disrespect is learning to choose your battles wisely. Not every situation deserves your time or energy. Some people act out of ignorance, others out of habit, and some simply do not align with your values. Trying to correct everyone can become exhausting and counterproductive. The ability to walk away from situations that do not serve you is a form of strength. It shows that you are focused on what truly matters, rather than being pulled into unnecessary conflict. Walking away is not about avoidance. It is about prioritization. It allows you to protect your mental and emotional energy for situations that truly require your attention. Interestingly, moments of disrespect can also provide valuable insight. They reveal how people think, how they behave, and what they value. Instead of viewing these moments purely as negative experiences, you can use them as opportunities to learn. They can help you identify who respects your boundaries and who does not. They can show you where you may need to strengthen your communication or confidence. In this way, even uncomfortable experiences can contribute to personal growth. The key is to approach them with awareness rather than reaction. As you continue to develop these skills, you'll notice a shift in how people treat you. It may not happen immediately, but over time your consistency will create a new pattern. People will begin to recognize that you are not easily influenced, that you value yourself, and that you expect a certain level of respect. This does not mean you will never face disrespect again, but it does mean you will be better equipped to handle it. More importantly, it means you will no longer define your worth based on how others treat you. In the end, the way you respond to disrespect is a reflection of your inner state. It is not about proving something to others. It is about staying aligned with your values. When you combine emotional control, clear boundaries, and self-respect, you create a powerful presence that does not rely on approval or validation. This is the kind of strength that commands respect naturally. It is not forced, it is not loud, and it does not seek attention. It simply exists, and people can feel it. If you reflect on your own experiences, you may begin to see patterns in how you have responded to disrespect in the past. Some reactions may have been effective, while others may not have served you well. The important thing is not to judge yourself, but to learn. Every interaction is an opportunity to grow, to refine your approach, and to become more aware of how you present yourself to the world. Over time, these small improvements can lead to significant changes in how you are perceived and treated. Ultimately, respect starts from within. When you respect yourself, you naturally set higher standards for how others can treat you. You become more selective with your time, your energy, and your attention. You stop seeking validation from those who do not value you, and you start focusing on building meaningful connections with those who do. This shift in mindset changes everything. It allows you to move through life with confidence, clarity, and purpose. And once you reach that point, something interesting happens. Disrespect no longer has the same impact on you. It becomes easier to recognize, easier to handle, and easier to move past. You no longer feel the need to react to every situation because you understand your worth. You respond when necessary, and you let go when it is not. This balance is what creates true strength. It is not about controlling others, but about mastering yourself. So the next time someone disrespects you, pause for a moment, take a breath, observe the situation, and remember that your response has power. Choose it wisely, because in that choice lies the difference between being controlled by the moment and controlling the outcome.